Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. I have another Stampin' Up set for you today. This is my Blessings of Home stamp and die set. And I made two cards, and I'm going to show you two different ways. These are watercolor, and I'm going to show you two different ways. One really easy way, and one more time-consuming, not hard, but more time-consuming way of using that beautiful stamp set to create a really nice little card. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the easy one. I've just got a piece of watercolor card. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And I have all the dies, but I'm not going to use the dies today. I'm going to use... I can get my stamp out of there. There we go. Use that. And we're going to start with an easy way, the easy way to do this. So I'm going to put this on my stamping platform. I'm going to position my stamp. I'm going to put it kind of about there. And then this is the Tim Holtz stamping platform, and you can just flip it around. So see how it says rubber and clear? So if you put it on the rubber side, it's a little bit higher, so it works with rubber stamps, which is nice. And I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to ink it. Let's see if I can get this in where you can see. And I've got my Harmony Water Reactive in Chinese red. I'm going to do red and green. That one I used a pink or a peachy kind of a color, but well, maybe I will use a pink. Yeah, I think I'll use fuchsia. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up the flowers in fuchsia and the foliage in green. And because it's kind of hard to do that with the pad, I'm going to use my little ink daubers. So let me get them out. I'm going to start with my foliage, which is grasshopper. And it's a little bit hard to tell what's foliage and what's not. So I'm going to flip my thing over so I can look at my picture. So if you're looking at your picture, it's a little bit easier to tell. But it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be kind of you're just kind of going for the effect. So I'm just trying to pick out the foliage for now. But again, it doesn't really matter because it's going to get watercolored. It's going to get sprayed, and so you just kind of want a mixture of the two colors. And the rest of it I'm going to do in the pink. When you think you've got it, I'm going to give it just a quick spritz of water. And let's stamp and see where we're at. And that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is, because I want it more, where is that one? I want it more loose, like this. So I'm just going to give it a squirt, but I don't want to move it. I want to leave it on the stamping platform exactly where it is. And we're just going to kind of let that move a little bit. I'm just going to kind of blot that a little bit like that. Clean off my stamp. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that's about what I want. So now, since I haven't moved it, it's still in the same spot. Now I'm going to take my waterproof ink pad and I'm going to stamp over the top of it with my waterproof ink pad. You could do this with any stamp you want, but it gives you a nice, easy sort of watercolor look that is incredibly easy to do and fast. Move this one up there. That card may be too wet to take my waterproof ink, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to go ahead and give it a dry. That's better. And I'm going to stamp it one more time with my waterproof ink. That should be good. Yeah, that's good. And that gives you a nice sort of loosely watercolory look. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of color around the edges. Get an actual ink blender. Get on there. And I chose green because I felt like there's already a lot of fuchsia on there and I didn't want more pink. And it's going to go on a brown card base, so I wanted a little more earthy tone. If you like the bright, you could go with the pink, but I liked the green. Clean up. And now we're just going to mount that on my card and then add a sentiment, and we're done. It's pretty quick and easy. And it gives you the look of a watercolor card without really a lot of the effort. And then we're just going to stamp a sentiment onto another piece of white watercolor card, kind of mount it with the craft card behind it, and we'll be done. So let me get my sentiment out. And I'm just going to use that Have a Perfect Birthday from that same stamp set. And I'm going to use my same brown so that it matches. And when I do strip sentiments like this, sometimes I like that the ends do not have the matte layer showing. So it's straight on the sides and then just the color across the top and the bottom. It's just the way I like to do it. You can put the matte all the way around if you like it that way. And then just add that right on there. And that's it. So you can see the difference between the sort of peachy color and the pink. Actually kind of like the pink and the green. I don't know. It's very bright. Anyway, let's try this one is a little bit different. Now this one, you can see I stamped it first in that waterproof ink and then I colored it in. So that's what I'm going to do. So Get my stamp back out here. Get it positioned correctly. Now on this one, I've got a cup of water and a paintbrush, and I'm going to paint in my foliage and my flowers. And I'm going to use the same colors so you'll be able to see the difference between the two styles. So to use your water reactive inks to paint with, just squidge a little bit of the ink pad down, put some water on your brush, get it wet, and the more water you have in it, the fainter the color. So we're going to just kind of paint in each of the petals. And you can take a little bit of water off with your paper towel so it's not quite so wet. And just lay that color down. Just go from one petal to the next. This is actually incredibly simple. If, like these petals, that one's just a little bright for me, so I'm just going to put some water on it and take some of the color out. That's much better. And then if you want to darken and deepen the centers, just take a little bit more color and just like you had your alcohol brush marker, where you're just going to kind of flick up from the center. Okay. Then we're going to go on to the next flower. Okay, I think that's all the flowers. Let's wipe up the ink, the pink. And now I want to do the same thing with the foliage. So we're just going to squidge out a little bit of green and do exactly the same thing. So some water in there. And then I'm going to use some more green for the centers of the flowers. I just want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to dry my brush. Nice green in there. And I'd like to darken that center up a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little more ink down. Get my brush damp but not wet, and then we can dampen or darken up parts of the center. Good. All right, clean that up. Get that out of the way before I spill it. And then I'm going to finish the edge of my card with the green exactly the same way that I did the other one. So just a little bit of the green water reactive around the edges. Again, I use the green instead of the fuchsia to kind of, because the fuchsia is very bright, and I didn't want to add more of that pink, bright pink. And that just sort of gives it a nice vignette around it. Now let's mount it on our card. This one I cut a little bit smaller, so it's got more of a border, but that's okay. There. Now it's just got a little bit of a dimension. It's thicker than I intended it, but it's works just fine. There we go. And we're done. So again, it's pretty simple to make. You can see the difference. This one I used peach, and I think I used my aqua pens on that one. And this one I used the water reactive fuchsia and grasshopper ink pads. And you can see the difference between, let me get these out of the way, get them all in here. You can see the difference between stamping with the water reactive ink and spritzing so that the color just sort of spreads, and then stamping over the top with the ink pad versus stamping with the ink pad and then painting in. You get much more defined color on these. This is a much looser, more watercolory look, but I like both of them. I think they're both pretty. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.